In this video, traders, we are going to talk about how many times should you take the same trade setup and get stopped out and stopped out before you should call it a day and move on to the next one. Stay tuned. Hey traders, a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining me. All right, so thank you for your support, by the way. I don't mention it enough in the videos. I try to mention it, but it's definitely something that I do appreciate. All your likes, all your shares, all your subscribes, all your comments, all your just general support. I know there's plenty of trading channels out there, plenty of other good content that you guys are enjoying as well, and hopefully, you know, you get some value from some of the videos that I do. So much appreciated. And also checking out the channel sponsor. You know, you guys are really, really great and appreciate you. Okay, so in this video, I want to talk a little bit about, you know, when you get stopped out on a trade and you go again and you go again and maybe you go again, how many times is too much? You know, what should we be doing if we've got a trade set up? And this is probably more for day traders, I think, because very often we get caught up in the same setup and we really want to push that setup and then we get a frustration coming in that we don't get it. But it could be for swing traders as well. I'm trying to think of a recent swing trade that I've done where I've had this situation. I can't really, I can definitely think of some day trades where I've had this situation. So let's use an analogy. I'll use an example. So let's say you're day trading breakout. Pretty standard stuff, guys. We're trying to trade a breakout and we buy the breakout. The breakout goes, comes back, stops us out. It goes again, we buy it, comes back, stops us out. So how many times should we really have a go at that breakout? And how many times should we go, okay, we call it a day? Now, this is going to be different for each person. Personally, for me, and I did a video where I talked about the rule of three. If I have 3 bites of the cherry, the fourth starts to annoy me. I can't help it. It's just I feel that the fourth, I've got a different mindset. I can feel that revenge chimp banging away in my head. I'm going, you know what, this is more of a revenge trade. So for me, I've learned over the 20 odd years, almost 20 years, that it's time to go, you know what, leave it, call it a day. Could be the best breakout, best trade in the world. If you have 3 stop outs at it, leave it. That's personal to me. Some people it might be less. Now there's an argument to say, hey, the setup is 1 and if it fails, then your thesis is wrong and you shouldn't take it again. But the counter to that is that you're just getting pinged out on noise and it's just a fake out on there. Let's say you're buying a dip, it just went a little bit lower. And I think it does depend on the setup. You know, a breakout trade, for example, can be very frustrating because you get stopped out, you get stopped out. You start to think, and this is why I take a massive step back, you start to think, and actually also as well, guys, digress slightly here, why I very much prefer to be positioned for the break rather than trading a break. And I've talked about this before. Very few of my setups are aggressively buying breaks. I like to be in the trade and on the ride for a break, feeding out into breakout buyers for scaling than buying into the break. But there's some exceptions to that. So anyway, the point going back to that initial point is this, is that you can feel like, well, I've taken it so many times now, I've taken 3 losers, I need to take it again because it's going to go now. And you start to think it's going to go, and I'm not in it, and I should be in it, and I need to get my money back. And that's such a dangerous mindset to be in, which is why I think you have to be very, very strict on the number of times you take a stop loss for a strategy. So breakouts specifically. The other one is a pullback. You know, very often a pullback will come back, you're buying a pullback, goes a little bit deeper, stops you out. Goes up, starts to go up, you think, I'm going to miss it, you go in, comes back and stops you out. Again, you've got to be careful that you're not overruling your common sense, if you like, by saying, I need to get this, I need to get this. And a good way to step back if you feel like you're doing this is to say to yourself, do you know what? Actually, there are many setups coming up this week. There are many setups coming up this month, this year. This is a tiny drop in a huge ocean. I don't need to be so focused on this one setup. I don't need to be concerned that I've missed this. Forget it, move on. You know, very often we're so, this is the great setup, this is a great A play, we've got this, we're so drilled in, we want to catch it, we want to catch it, we want to catch it. We don't take a step back and go, look at the bigger picture. You know, the market's offering lots of opportunity. One market, got many markets that I trade in my trading plan, many setups. The amount of iterations, the amount of occurrences that we might get for setups is huge. Leave it, move on. If I find myself too focused on this one setup, then it's just going to end in tears. So going back to the initial question, how many times? Mine is 3. I think that might be too much for many people. I think you take it, If you get stopped out, a second go might be okay under certain conditions, and then you leave it. I think if you're hammering away, and very often, guys, I'll do that anyway. My golden rule is 3 max, but very often I'll take 1 and leave it and go, you know what, I'm not taking it again. I misjudged it. What's to say I'm not completely out of tune with the market? I'm going to misjudge it again. I might go 2 if it's some crazy kind of price spike that's an obvious, a bit of anomaly, not normal price action. I might go 2 and 3 very rarely, but I know that's my max. So for you, personal, again, no recommendations at all, guys. The idea of these videos is you to take an idea and go, you know what, how can I develop and grow that into something that helped me in my own personal trading. So I'm a big fan of saying, okay, allow yourself another bite of the cherry, but being very cautious about multiple bites. So maybe the second bite of the cherry, if it's a specific strategy that's good, if it's worked well, it's pulled back, maybe it's just gone a little bit deep, wicked you out, you can take another play. If you're trading momentum, being very careful because you might just have an incorrect read of the market. The market might have driven hard, pushing at resistance, and now it's going to flatline, and something we don't consider. We often think it's going to reverse or it's going to break through. The third more likely scenario for many markets is they push and they flatline. If you're trying to force the break, you're just going to kind of drip profits away, waiting for the break. So depending on the setup of the strategy, I think it's okay to take multiple bites of the cherry, 2 bites of the cherry, maybe 3 at a push. But any more than that, I do feel then you're starting to get into a position where you're trading just out of revenge, just out of the need and requirement to get that money because I missed out on this, I've been stopped so many. And we dig such a big hole that you end up getting to a point, guys, where it doesn't matter. You dug such a stupid big hole for yourself. Even if you get the trade, all you're doing is getting back the money you lost. And that's a horrible position to be in. So you don't want to be in that position. So very much dependent on the type of market you're trading, very much dependent on the setup of strategy, and very much dependent on the type of personality and trader you are up here. No right or wrong, but that's my kind of broad approach to it. Let me know in the comment section below how many times you take the same trade before you go, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to move on. I'm going to forget it. And obviously it's that balancing act of missing out on potentially a good trade with just digging that stupid hole for yourself and just misreading the market and not recognizing until after the fact and going, you know what, I've just dropped 8 grand into that trade because I just didn't realize that I was completely out of tune with it, or whatever the case may be. Anyway, guys, keep risk managed, take care, appreciate you, see you in the next one, bye bye.